Yeah.
All right.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Power Podcast All-Star Live Stream Series. I am your co-host slash moderator, Brother Bedford, and we want to thank you for sharing with us your most valuable resource, your number one asset, and that is your time. We pray that you and your family are safe, and we pray that you're taking all of the necessary precautions to keep you and your family safe. Now, we've been joined by people from all over the planet who've been tuning in to this Power Podcast All-Star live stream series. And we're just overwhelmed with the responses of people thanking us for helping them to get through such a trying time. They're getting educated, they're getting entertained, and then they're getting exposed to some of the giants of Black America that they had no idea even existed, right? There, we just have some extremely valuable resources in terms of knowledge, wisdom, business knowledge, wisdom, and experience that most of our people just don't know exist. So we're just thankful that we could be in a position to bring the best and brightest of Black America to you. So what I want you to do right now is, one, go ahead and type in your name and let us know where you're from. Right in the comment section, just let us know where you're from. And if you're over on YouTube or one of the other platforms, go ahead and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Do all of those things that you need to do to let people know that we're live and in living color with Dr. George C. Fraser and Delano A. Johnson. We're getting ready to deliver something to you real powerful and profound tonight. The next thing that I need you to do, if you're on George Fraser's fan page, we need you to follow the page. That way you'll get all of the notifications that George sends us every day with thought-provoking ideas, strategies, concepts, things that we can all utilize to make our lives a whole lot better. And you'll also be notified about all of the upcoming podcasts, as well as all of the things that are happening with the Power Networking Conference that are coming up. The other way that you can get notified is go to www.newblackpower.com. Give us your name and email and make sure that you confirm. And when you confirm that email, that would give me the authority to send you all of the updates to keep you informed on when we're going live. And it'll also give me the opportunity to make sure that if you've missed any of the previous podcasts, I can make sure that you can view the replays of those. So go over to newblackpower.com to do that. And the last but not least, the thing that I need you to do is share. We said it earlier, if you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, any of the other platforms, but definitely if you're on Facebook, we need you to share the live right now on your personal pages, in your Facebook groups. Let everybody know, invite your family and friends. We're live and in living color with Dr. George C. Fraser and with Delano A. Johnson. And so, it's a time right now where people have been watching the ESPN series talking about the greatest of all time and who's going to the Hall of Fame and all of those different things. And we're very, very excited when we talk about that in the sports world. But did you know that there is a minority business Hall of Fame and museum? And the man that we have getting ready to take over the reins right now is a Hall of Famer. Dr. George C. Fraser is inducted into the Minority Business Hall of Fame and Museum. And that's something we should be very, very proud of. And we hope to get more brothers and sisters in the Business Hall of Fame instead of the Sports Hall of Fame. Without further delay, I want to put you into the hands of the Hall of Famer, Dr. George C. Fraser.
Thank you, Brother Bedford. Good evening, everybody. We experienced a little bit of summer here today. We got 72 degrees and rain. In Cleveland, you get a lot of rain, but at least it was 72 degrees. It was 40 degrees last week, but it's good to be back. I feel really good today. I don't know why that is. I had a very busy day, but I just feel energized. And part of it could be the guy that we're going to be talking to tonight, interviewing tonight, a young brother that our relationship is moderately new, about 4 years old, but it is very, very, very dynamic. The provenance of that relationship and how it came about and what he was doing before he met me and with whom he was doing it with is book material. And maybe one day we'll write that book together. But tonight I'm going to be with and interviewing and learning from and engaging with an awesome young man, Delano Alejandro Johnson, right? What a name. Delano Alejandro Johnson. Um, this is a brother that has not only brilliance, but he has swag. He has leadership qualities. He's charismatic. He's multi-talented. He can sing, dance, play football, baseball, basketball, and actually do some branding on the side, right? He's all that in a bag of chip. I'm just going to do the proper thing, like I do with everybody, is give them a proper introduction and sort of do a theatrical read of his really abbreviated bio, because we didn't want to take a lot of time on introducing him, because the content that he will share with us tonight will be for many of you life-changing. He is, well, let me stop ad-libbing here and just do the formal job that I'm supposed to do, and then we'll do some improvising and ad-lib as we get into our conversation. Delano A. Johnson, also known as hashtag the CEO of creativity, we're going to unpack that in a minute, is a brand architect and leading consulting authority on personal and corporate creativity. He's a Grammy and Dove Award nominee and singer and songwriter and author who has appeared on global networks like CNN, BET, TBN, NBC, and Fox. Delano was recently featured in Black Enterprise as an upcoming creative genius to watch, along with over 100 magazines around the globe that he has graced. He is currently the COO of Fraser, a little upstart company about 34 years old, doing some fairly serious work in the Black world. But yes, he is our chief operating officer, and we are really, really excited and pleased to have him. The organizers of the Power Networking Conference, under his new mentor, I think that's me, Dr. George C. Fraser. He has added a whole lot of cachet and new ideas and some fabulous branding to the Power Networking Conference. His best-selling book, Refuse to Live, Talented and Broke, has sold almost 80,000 copies globally to date, which holds the foreword from his late mentor, Dr. Miles Monroe, also my late mentor, but Delano was basically running Dr. Miles Monroe's operation before that tragedy happened. Finally, Delano's life's mission is to help entrepreneurs, entertainers, and artists manage their lives, their art, and businesses successfully. May I introduce to you Delano A. Johnson. Hello there, my brother. How are you?
Oh, man, what an introduction. Man.
I read that just as your mother wrote it.
we got to clear up one thing on there. When you got someone as world renowned as Dr. Monroe, I wasn't running the ministry there. Actually, you have
not the ministry, right?
Yeah, group of people. We just began the talks in actually creating a Monroe Press, which was
right.
The publishing company that we wanted to start. Actually, through
how many books did he publish? How many books did Dr. Miles Monroe write?
Well, he's have well over 75 titles.
Yeah. He was a publishing company.
All by himself.
Yeah,
all by himself. Yeah.
The title of your teaching, your training tonight.
Yeah.
Say that title.
So we're going to be talking about branding in the middle of a crisis. Branding in the middle of a crisis. So I'm going to unpack a little bit about what branding is.
Yes. Yeah. But first, before you go there, where does that hashtag CEO of creativity. Where does that come from, and how did you come up with that?
I wasn't as bright to come up with that. Actually, um, a few clients was throwing around stuff, and one of my clients said, "Man, you the CEO of creativity." And then I had another client that says, "Oh man, that's your hashtag. That's your hashtag." And one day I was just talking to a friend of mine. I said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And he said, "Man, that's you." He said, "That's you." He said, "From the time I known you, it was all about creativity." And so I did a search, which I'm going to actually teach you guys how to do. I did a search and it was available, and so I own that domain. Literally, when we say I own a domain, right? I'm talking about the URL and the fact that no one else had it at that time. So it
Right.
was extremely congruent, and that's just kind of how that stuck.
Yeah. I'm looking at you and the branding that is all around you, right? The
Ah,
studio setting that you're in, um, how your body is positioned to the camera, the backdrop. It is just about as perfect a Zoom presentation and look could be. I mean, you talk about good, simply elegant branding. Even the lighting. I don't know what you did with the lighting, but I have hot spots all over my head. I got a blotch over here. A half of my mustache is gray. The other half is dark gray. I don't know what that is, but it's not good branding. It's probably the only good branding I have are my books behind me, right? That send a powerful message. Um,
don't worry about that. We're gonna get you hooked up. That's your personality brand is
Watch.
what we're gonna be working on very soon.
Good, good, good.
Yeah.
I saw that you worked with Toys R Us. What was your role with Toys R Us?
Oh yeah. Yeah, so basically that was back in I think 2008 when I took a job there, went through some stuff and needed to get a job really, and was looking around, and a friend of mine called me and said, "Hey, there's this opportunity." I said, "Where is it?" And he said, "Toys R Us." And I figured, my kids were really small then. I figured Toys R Us, wow, that's brownie points, that's daddy points right there. So I was the online creative manager, which meant that I had a few things under my belt. Number one, I was responsible for all the acquisition brands, including FAO Shorts at that time. There was a very aggressive acquisition program. So we bought up a lot of the smaller brands, KB Toys, Baby Universe, and so I was responsible for rebranding those, as well as the offers. I was also responsible for all the online, the e-commerce and the m-commerce, all of the graphics for that. Anything you saw in terms of an offer, it came through my department that created those offers. So we worked with the brick and mortar, as well as we got a chance to work with a lot of the big brands like Disney and Sony and Mattel and all these guys. So that was my core job. One thing I'm really proud of is that during that time from 2008 to 2011, I think when I left 2011 or 12, we grew that entire division from 50 million a year to over 750 million a year. So that was a great feat, and to be a part of that, and particularly with the iconic FAO shorts. So that was a great pitch stop for me.
Um, what was that experience like? You were working in a corporate setting. The majority of your colleagues and peers, I would assume, did not look like you. Did you? What did you leave Toys R? What are the lessons that you left Toys R Us with?
Yeah, one of the biggest lessons that I learned there, and it was very important for my book. And this was before I wrote the book actually, and that is sometimes we choose uh, security of a paycheck over the excitement and the achievement of accomplishing our purpose. or accomplishing that thing that's in our heart. It's amazing how many people I spoke to while I was there, that said, "Oh man, I love, the way that you're doing these things." And even when I left, I got letters from some of the senior vice presidents, and it was like, "We know you wasn't going to be here long. This place is too small for you." And all of the people that were there who had dreams and stuff they wanted to accomplish, they were just afraid to leave the security of a paycheck, for the opportunity to actualize that goal or that dream or that idea. And so that was one of the things that really got me. And it was actually really, really good content for the book. So I could be able to talk about, actualizing your dreams and unearthing your talents, the ones that are hidden. So there were a lot of people there who contacted me afterwards, and I actually became clients. So that. I think that was the biggest lesson, for me. And then I think one more lesson was the fact that, in corporate, there is this conformity that 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 happens, and not everyone agrees with it, but plays along again for that check, right? There's things that's wrong with the way the supervisor or the boss is doing stuff. Everybody says nothing. And me, I didn't know any better. I would just say stuff, right? I'd be like, I don't think it makes sense to do that. Are we spending too much on this? I think that's too much. And, I would find myself getting in these conversations, and a friend of mine put me aside and say, "Man, I wish I had your courage." I say, "No, it's not courage, it's ignorance. And it's bliss here." Because I can say what I want to say and basically get away with it. But again, I think those two things were my biggest takeaways.
Okay. Um, did you sense any isms, or you just ignored it, navigated around it? Were there, I mean, taking orders from a black person, and I'm sure you had subordinates that did not look like you.
Yeah.
Did you get the respect that you deserved? Did you feel any tension or stress around that?
There was definitely some tension. I had a direct report who, was there for 11 years. I think it was 11 years or so, some amount of time. And so he was placed directly under me. Actually, I think he actually interviewed for that position and didn't get it. So the fact that I came in, it was a lot of resistance. Um, um, there was a lot of undertone attitudes, if I could say that,
Yeah,
attitudes in the response to, the fact that I'm a black man, and, even though I got hired on the spot, because I had a really good idea of branding, and I had a portfolio that was vast. So uh, the pushback that I would get was really from, one or two individuals. I mean, I did what I had to do. And once those things were done at the level that I had to perform at, predominantly the environment was pretty accepting, except for, obviously the guy who thought that he should have that job.
all right, on to another subject. Do you have a copy of Talented and Broke that you could show?
I actually, I actually do have a copy of it. Um,
But it's
what I'll
not
do is,
handy.
yeah, I'll put one up on the screen. As you're saying that, they're probably running down to bring me a copy now. I thought I had a copy here, but I don't have a copy here on my desk. So
Okay,
they'll probably
okay,
bring me
yeah,
a
'cause
copy.
I
Yeah,
have a
I'll
copy
show.
of it. I wanted them to see that because for me, it's the epitome of creativity and the epitome of branding. And so the question then becomes, why is creativity and branding so vital in business and in life?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I have to break that down in kind of two sections. Number one, branding. Uh, well, let me start with creativity. Creativity is how we interpret the thing that we want to do. It's how we interpret the world around us. And it's also the power to actually do and bring those things, those unique perspectives in ideas and services and businesses. That's creativity. So it is actually how we do things, right? That's our stamp. Um, Branding is extremely important because branding is the process of actually putting what we would call an icon or an image on your particular creation, right? So you create something, you bring it into existence, right? That's your whole process. Without creativity, we can't bring things into process, right? I mean, into the universe, into the real world. We need the process of creativity to bring things forward. But with branding, branding is the process of identifying the things that you brought into the world. Like your kids are branded with your DNA, right? They look like you, they talk like you, right? They act like you. Yeah, I got a son, my oldest son looks just like me. He acts like his mama though, but he looks like me. And and so those two things are extremely important because when we look at everything that we have in the world today, that's exactly that's everything. It encompasses everything. So for me, if you understand creativity and your brand of creativity, understand how to embrace it, how to unleash it, how to harness it, then you can get to those parts of branding, which now you can monetize the things you created by setting apart that which you have created in the market. When everybody sees that mark, when everybody sees that image, that color scheme, they understand that it belongs to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For those people in the audience that do not know you as well as I do, let me ask you a few questions that may help people get to know you.
Okay.
How important is entrepreneurship? Now, you've been in the public, private, and independent sector. How important is entrepreneurship to you?
It's extremely important. Everyone is an entrepreneur in their own right. You've had an idea on the playground, right? And you thought of something and you organize everybody to accomplish a goal. That's the first stages of it, having an idea and organizing human resources to make that thing happen. It's the part in the process of self-actualization. So it's extremely important. You can have a bunch of ideas, and without entrepreneurship, you will never actually see the results or see the residuals from that idea. You'll never be able to monetize the thing that you have, the thing that you created, the ideas, the products, the services. Without entrepreneurship, you will never, ever be able to actualize that. So it's extremely, extremely, extremely important. I didn't even know that I was an entrepreneur until I came up with the first idea and realized that I can actually make money from it. And actually, it was selling pencils. There was a lot of kids in school that didn't bring their pencils, and we had to buy. I always had to buy them, so I basically sold it to them. And I was marked up at 25 cents. That's a lot. That was like a little carton of milk. And so I sold my first one for 25 cents. And then I realized I had to mark it down if I wanted to have sell a lot more pencils. So entrepreneurship is extremely important. It is part of the journey and the process to actualizing who you are.
Right. I went to my library. I wanted people to see
you
this
did?
book because this is so beautifully designed. Now, does it look backwards?
No, you're fine.
It
You're fine.
looks backwards to me. Right. Right.
Good.
It's
Fine.
beautiful. Beautifully designed. Look at the edge there. Look how he packaged the back. And then what is really beautiful is the way he laid out the topography and the layout and design of the inside of the book. I mean, it is just
Oh, you got
really
one of the first ones, Dr. G. That that
Right.
kick out flap.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
That's
it.
that,
Yeah, you got one
so
of the first one.
beautifully
That's an
done.
important book. Yeah,
Absolutely.
the new ones don't have
I'm
that.
going to auction this. I'm going to auction this on eBay for $1,000. But these
Yeah,
sell for
let's see. Yeah, let's see.
$35 each. They sell for $35 each, right? They
35 is actually 30. It's actually 39.95. And my publisher friend said that he was crazy to do that, but I knew what we had. I know we had a killer title, and you know, books sell by either the title or the author. No one knew who I was. This is my first book.
Right, right.
So, but the content and the title we know was extremely strong, and yeah, we've been able to do that. So that's a
That's
blessing.
great. 80,000 at $40 a piece. Do the math.
Yeah,
That's
not all of
incredible.
them at not all of them at 39.95. We had
No, I know.
some bulk
Right,
at yeah.
right. Um, what's your favorite book other
Say
than
it
your
again.
own? What's your favorite book other than your own?
Ooh, I'm gonna say the Bible. Number one, I gotta say, Understanding Your Potential by Dr. Miles Monroe. That was one of the books that really turned me around. So I'm going to books that I can't say there's a favorite, but there's definitely a top five. The next one would be Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah.
That's another book that I really delve in. Obviously, Click by a guy by the name of Dr. George C. Fraser. You may know,
Yep.
you may be familiar
Who
with
the
that.
hell knows him? Right, right.
Yeah.
Um,
And
what are you reading? What are you reading now? What are you reading right now?
right now, actually, I picked up an old book that I read in 1997. It's called The Idea Economy, because there's a lot of similarities to what the author, Dr. Hendrick, talked about. I think the book was written in 95 or 94. But from then, he talked about the fact of how our ideas are going to be extremely important in what he's calling the idea economy. And so that's one of the books I picked up, as well as another book that actually you recommend, which was Life After Google, The Fall of Big Data and the Rise of the Blockchain Economy. So
Yeah.
I think in lieu of everything that's happening, getting all the information that I need to be able to assist my clients from a brand perspective and positioning, those books are really on point. Yeah.
You have a favorite quote?
Favorite quote. Ooh. Uh, Complexity is the enemy of progress.
Almost. Complexity is the enemy of execution.
Of execution.
All
Yeah,
right.
that's by Dr. George C. Fraser.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right. There you go.
yeah.
What do you do, Delano, to remain creative? What do you do? How do you keep your creative juices going?
Yeah, really, I have a list of things. Actually, in the book, I talk about some things to help to create that creative brain. And, creativity helps you to solve problems. One of the things you can do is, number one, exercise daily, right? Put in at least an hour in exercising. And particularly when you have physical cardiovascular superiority. And when you do that, oxygen to the brain, you're able to think and focus. So a lot of exercising. And then also, I don't do a lot of, I kind of break my day up into sections where I talk about it in the book, where there's a specific part of the day where you are most creative. So I deal with the
Mm,
most difficult things during that day. As a matter of fact, I read something that I think it was Steve Jobs who did that during his day. He wouldn't deal with certain specific issues during certain times of the day. And so I deal with certain things at a specific time of the day when I am extremely creative. And that's usually between 12 and 3. And then I have another creative spurt. So I actually exploit those hours to do my most, difficult cranium stuff. And then a lot of green foods, colorful foods on your plate. I'm almost a vegetarian. I'm a pescatarian now. I eat a lot of fish. So almost a pretty. I steal a little chicken here and now and then, but it's a lot to do with your diet, and of course, number four, a lot of water.
Hmm.
Those are four
Um,
things that you can do right now. Everything else is more difficult, more esoteric stuff, but that's those are the things that's a part of my regimen to keep me going.
okay. Um, you have rebranded all of Fraser Net's companies, and I get tons of calls, and I'm not just blowing smoke here about our new look and our new function. And so I want to ask you, what guides your design and thought process?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, Everything comes from the idea originator, right? You look back at the origins. When we have an idea, that idea takes on some of the form of who we are, right?
Yeah.
Your favorite color. One of the things we do is when I do brand discoveries, I ask the client a whole list of questions. And intuitively also try to get a sense of why they're doing what they're doing. What happens is I'm able to pull and extract intent, and that intent comes with it ideas. And those ideas, because I understand best in class practices and understand the psychology of colors and iconography and typography, it's easy to convert and to communicate those ideas and those intent that the client has. But it always comes from the client themselves. So for example, when we first talked about some of the things that you wanted to see change, there was an intensity, but then also there's such a longevity in what you've done over 30 years. The Power Networking Conference, 19 years this year. And so there was a longevity and a stableness to it. So blue and different shades of blue was extremely important because blue identifies with those attributes that you have. So I wanted to exploit the shades of it to be able to express that in the market. And so that's really my thought process, that, or at least the foundation of it, extracting from the client everything you need. There's also some intuitiveness in it as well, but you got to have a broad vocabulary of visual communications. You have to know why specific letters are used and why certain colors, the science of colors.
Is there some level of giftedness? I mean, you have a wonderful eye for shapes and
Yeah,
tone and space.
yeah.
Is that a giftedness or is that a learned skill as well?
Um,
Or both?
I think the best in the industry are most of them have that gift of aesthetics. It's like some people, you can go and be classically trained to sing, right? But it's the Stevie Wonders who touch us at very deep levels, right? Um, it's even people of artistry like a Kendrick Lamar, right? Who's just born with the ability to take words and formulate and grab metaphors to rhymes that people wouldn't necessarily think of. It's an innate gift, a gifted ability, but getting the information actually refines that natural gift. So yeah, I believe it's definitely a gift, but some education helps you to refine it and to be more targeted.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Um, I'm looking at this is brothers and sisters. This is our Fraser Nation. We launched Fraser Nation last year, Citizens of Generational Wealth, and we, of course, Delano, who's our chief brand architect and our chief operating officer, took on the awesome responsibility of packaging um, our official Fraser Nation brochure, and he did it with just it's just so beautifully done. But so we have our preamble, and we have our Constitution, and in the back, he even took on the responsibility of designing a flag for our nation. That's what the flag looks like, right? but
Yeah.
it's the whole ensemble, and it's the totality of the look and feel that you created for this new nation that really
Yeah.
graphically made it stand out. Um, what is the biggest right now in a pandemic? So what is the biggest disruptor, let's say, um, of or current branding practices in your field as a result of this pandemic? What has the pandemic disrupted in branding?
Yeah.
How does it impact us as entrepreneurs or
Yeah.
sellers of products and services?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that's happened. Number one, for a number of years, it took a lot of us to get used to the digital world, right? Technologies to put away, your pager, and use a cell phone, and then you got used to the cell phone. And so there's things that we've become now accustomed to. A 10-year span really converted everyone to a digital format, to a digital economy. So the biggest disruptor is just when people was getting used to the social media and how you promote yourself and how you create awareness and get, go through the branding stages of brand exposure, awareness, recognition, brand ubiquity, and all the way to brand loyalty. Just when you was getting used to understanding all of these click funnel stuff and all these bells and whistles and text tool and all of this stuff, just when he was getting used to that, COVID-19 happened. And the first thing it did, it actually closed that era. And it
Mm.
opened the blockchain era. For example, I was speaking to a physicist friend of mine, and he was saying, this is probably the best time to go totally cryptocurrency. Because with the phobia of catching, germs or this disease, um, there is no other place than the than the dollar that traffics back and forth from hand to hand, right?
Right.
Um, where that phobia is actualized and realized the way that we touch this money. So there'll be a lot of people who don't want to touch the dollar bill. So we're using more credit cards now. And in no time, it will be I pay you by just going into my cryptocurrency wallet and just paying you, right? Everything I'm going to be doing via the blockchain, our smart contracts. So the disruption is that we were just getting familiar, and so there is an inconvenience now, because if you were a speaker, like most of my colleagues, we are, the disruption to the technology has caused you to now have to figure out, how do I translate my brand in a square setting when I'm used to being on the stage in front of millions of people, if you were so lucky to do that, right? That's a Tony Robbins. But but how do I do that? So that disruption in you finally getting comfortable with branding yourself on social media, there's now a disruption where you have to go and figure out, how do I use Zoom, right? I think I sent you a text, the email the other day. There is this educational center that's teaching you how to present using virtual reality (VR) settings, because that in and of itself is a whole new learning curve. You don't have the energy, you don't have the feedback loop. So I think that's one of the major disruptions. Um, Another disruption that I'm noticing is what blockchain is doing to the economy by decentralizing the power and spreading it out. I'm realizing that there's a decentralizing of branding. And where the funnel was, you have the big part of the funnel and everything goes into the funnel and comes out through a small hole. Now I'm seeing that we're actually able to do one thing and have it spread out. So that's like the funnel being flipped over. I'm see if I could kind of unpack this just a little bit more. So what happens is you have a brand and you have all these different touch points. You got a million social platforms, social media platforms. You got Twitter, Facebook, IG, you got TikTok, you got all these things. And the goal is to get all of that activity aggregated to one place so that you can actually convert sales, right? That's what you're looking for. Now what I'm seeing is that this whole digital revolution with blockchain is not decentralizing it on the branding side, it's decentralizing from the economic side, but it's centralizing it on the branding side. Now you can actually do less things and get bigger responses on the outside. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
is that because of the power of social media and the reach? It's basically global. The reach of social. So we're for pennies, you're reaching hundreds, if not thousands, in a high quality way. So you're reaching more people.
yeah.
With messages, more frequency, and thus, if you're branded properly,
Yeah.
if your action step is easy, you
Yeah,
do
but
more.
what's happening is that we have so many choices that it becomes difficult to figure out what platform should I be on, right? Everybody say, this is the new, TikTok just blew up basically overnight through this pandemic, right? Every time you saw a meme, you had a, a little branding of TikTok on the side of it. And so everybody's trying to figure out, do I go to TikTok? Do I go to this? So what do I do? So the market is saturated with all these avenues on how to reach people. What I'm saying is that I see in the next 18 to 24 months that that's changing and people would start to aggregate their efforts and their content to one specific place and then have it fall out to many different places. So the attention and your resources, instead of paying to advertise on LinkedIn, instead of paying to advertise on Facebook, instead of paying to advertise on YouTube and Google Ad Search, you got all these places. What I'm seeing now, because of some of the technology that's happened, is that you'll be able to have one central location for your identity. And that identity will feed out into the market and attract people to that place where you can create conversions.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what do you see in the next couple of years? Now, when this is over, things are going to change. What do you see? What are your thoughts on that?
Wow, that's a good one. So there's a lot of changes that I think is going to happen. And in order to understand that, I think probably, for example, I think one of the things that's going to happen is, let me break it down this way. For example, here's a good one. We did some research. Now, part of branding, for example, last year, well, let's unpack this so you really get it. Last year, we had a lot of clients that had products released. And so obviously during this pandemic, I get calls and saying, well, what are we going to do? Is this going to change our branding strategy? And the more important question is, how is it going to change the strategy? So we didn't have a lot of numbers and statistics to help us out earlier on. And so we came up, I made a few calls to some people I knew, people who worked at people like Hart Hanks and different data aggregate places. And we came up with these statistics about what was happening right now. And so the statistic sounds like this. So 79% of the people in the world today right now, let's just say the US, are spending 12 hours a day on their mobile devices. 62% of them are watching streaming services for more than 9 hours a day. 49% are reading books, which 25% of them are actually hard copy books. So that says something. There's an 85% raise in domestic disputes. 58% of people are playing either board games, puzzles, or card games for at least 4 to 9 times a week, with an average playing time of about 2 to 3 hours every single day. 45% of people are playing strategy games. I know what generation that is. It sounds like millennials. 18% are working on home improvement projects just to keep busy. And when we get down to some of the more entrepreneurial stuff, we have like 65% of most small business owners will actually have to change their business focus because of this pandemic. 65% of entertainers, speakers, and artists will lose about 73% of their annual income. Because if you made money getting on a stage and speaking in front of people, or singing on a stage at a massive concert, and people are afraid to gather, even if we gather again, you still may be prone to keep your distance of 6 feet. So what are we gonna do? Space out the seats? If we do that, we cut the number of attendance. So we cut the number of tickets sold. We cut the number of the price of the ticket sold. So instead of getting 5,000 people, you got 1,000 people in there. So it's going to affect everybody. So I think when I look at it, pastors, for an example, we've scoured through a lot of online streaming services from churches, and it is extremely difficult to see pastors who are used to preaching and getting that feedback loop. When they didn't have it, it's hollow. The whole experience is different. So now pastors are faced with, how do I translate my preaching gift in a digital square environment? So it's been a challenge for a lot of them. A lot of them aren't even posting, streaming live on a Sunday morning service. They're playing old stuff. But a few of them now, like TD Jakes is one of the creative ones. He's going to figure it out, right? And he's already actually doing that. But those who did not convert their personality brand, where they're standing in front of a crowd, this pandemic has put a strain on that and is pushing you to now figure out, how do I create the same experience, the same power behind a digital screen and still getting to the hearts of the people? So I predict that there's a lot of pastors who's going to have, instead of televangelists, they're going to be Zoom evangelists, right? Because they just have to adjust. So I predict there are a lot of pastors are going to be doing that. In the music industry, I think there's a lot of technology. There was a technology that actually existed about 12 years ago. I was a part of actually doing some trials with it, but it is basically a VR experience where the artist is on stage, or the speaker is on stage, and everyone is shipped, or they have specific goggles. So they buy a ticket, they put on their goggles at the specific time, and they're actually looking at a virtual theater. So the artist is in that theater. Every seat that's marked is filled by that individual who wears that goggles, and it's actually numbered. So I think that technology is going to come online a lot sooner than they predicted. So, and that's truly VR. So now you can actually charge, the right amount for a ticket and still deliver that experience. I don't know how quickly we'll be able to get that seamless experience, but I predict that that's going to happen. I think that there's some other behaviors that's going to change the way marketing happens. For example, with Netflix right now is going to have to change I predict this, they're going to have to change their business model to a free subscription, because every television set comes with within in TV, all the smart TVs, an in TV app that allows you to skip around to free movies. So if everyone is home, everyone wants to be entertained, and I'm not making money like I used to, that $29.99, that $15.99, that $7.99 that you're paying, those are the small little bills that's going to go out the door. So also digital advertising is going to take away all of the print advertising. So here's an opportunity for Netflix. They're going to have a free subscription. And with that free subscription, they're basically going to sell ad space, interrupt your movie and sell ad space. They don't have that model. A lot of the apps on your smart TV does. That's how they pay for stuff. But I think that's what Netflix and Amazon Prime, they're going to have to move to that, because again, there's an open opportunity. I'm not going to spend money on a billboard or in print in a magazine if 90% of what I do is now digital.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do that. So that's what's going to happen. The business owner is going to be forced to understand this blockchain environment, this new digital environment, where their gift or the talent that they use to make that money will not make them the money that they can in this particular environment. So some people are going to actually have to unearth and dig up those old talents that they buried. They're going to have to look at these things that they thought wasn't relevant, and look at branding those specific talents and ideas now.
Yeah, everything old is new again.
Yeah.
Our final little segment here. We're down to about 7 or 8 minutes. What are some of the things, and I know everybody wants to know this, what are some of the things that entrepreneurs can do now in branding themselves or branding their businesses?
Yeah. So here's 3 things. Number one, in this environment, you're going to have to embrace creative collaboration. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. There are, if you're a mom and pop store and you're making 150, 200, and now you're gonna struggle with that. You're gonna have to embrace probably an online store that creates the same products or other products like you, or have a mission fit, or you sell the tires, they sell the car, you sell the hot sauce, they sell the wings. You're gonna have to look for people who are providing digital services and creatively collaborate. There is no other way by yourself in this environment will you be able to make it unless your business have, it's relevant in this market. If you're selling digital services like a Zoom, right? Or apps that help you to connect with people that need your products and your services. So you're going to have to collaborate a whole lot. The next thing that I would say is there's a product that I developed called Try Branding. It wasn't relevant actually until now. I talk about turning that funnel upside down. So you got 3 types of brands. You have your personality brand, you have your product brand, you have a corporate brand. Right now, there's an opportunity where you can leverage all 3 of your brands to get maximum exposure, but minimize the cost to do that. Because now the funnel is turned upside down. You come in through the funnel on the small part, and it trickles out to the big, on the big part of it. So there is an opportunity now that if you look at, let's say you have a product and it's really strong. You sell sneakers, right? Or you sell hot sauce. You may put everything in branding that hot sauce, but another product can come in and knock your product off the shelf or be a formidable product. But if you have a corporate brand that is dedicated, and you do a good job of branding, that's dedicated to making and finding the best solution for hot sauce, right? If you have a company that push that that idea that this company, this brand stands for the best hot sauce, in the world. So that gives you an opportunity to actually have people drawn to your corporate brand through your product brand. So if they're tired of that one product, you still have loyalty because you've been promoting that you are dedicated and you are the best at coming up with the best hot sauce solutions. So there is an opportunity now to come in at a level where the cost is extremely low. The cost is extremely low and you get maximum exposure. So if you have a lot of personality, you can be the spokesperson, the personality brand. And then you have the hot sauce, the product, which is the brand, right? The product brand. And then you have your corporate brand. All three of those across the board. There's a way that we figure out how to do this that we're actually doing now for a lot of clients. And we call it tribe branding. So I think that opportunity is there for you to figure out. And let's see, one more thing. One thing I would say, because it's a pandemic, everybody's trying to figure out what to do. So you're going to have ideas. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have a lot of ideas. I'm going to give you this one tip and trick on how I manage my ideas, because you're in a panic mode, every idea sounds good. But the cost to develop that idea, you can't afford to shoot and miss at this point. So one way that I actually organize my ideas to vet which ones are good and which ones are not, and to figure out which ones to do. So every idea I come goes into either 4 categories. The first category is an idea that I'll develop and take to market myself. The second category is an idea that I'll develop to a certain point where I can explain it and talk about it intelligently, but I would look for a partner. I'll give up 50 to 49% of the equity to get that partner because they have something else that I don't. The third one is that I'll develop that thing, that idea, and I'm going to lease it, right? I'm basically going to create a licensing deal, right? So I'll take 10% of all the earnings plus some money up front. And so that's what I would do with that idea. And then there are other ideas, I feel, and this one is important. There are other ideas that come to you, but it's actually not for you. It just came to you to come through you. You're steward of that to actually give to someone you're mentoring. So every idea is not for you to do. Don't get excited about it. Wake your wife up in the middle of the night, your girlfriend, call your mentor, call everybody and say, we're about to do this. No, take it through that process and have the people who are around you in your circle help you to vet those ideas. Because I'm telling you, if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have a lot of ideas. But what you want to do is put the best ideas first. The best ideas first. If you go through that process, that'll help you to weed it out, and you get your team around you, and they'll vet the good ones. We do that a lot with Fraser Net, and Dr. George, you're notorious for this. Ideas by itself are not great until they meet other great minds, and so you're constantly vetting ideas. And we're always talking and hashing out, because the investment to do that, right, if we fail in this environment, could be a lot of time that we lose and a lot of brain, energy, and forget, not to mention the assets, to actualize that thing. So I think those 3 things, vet your ideas, look for creative collaborations. I think those are the things you need to do, and consider if you have a product and you're a personality or you have a corporation opportunity there, I think you need to consider the tribe branding process.
Great. Yeah. I think in today's marketplace, especially post-Corona 19, you're either remarkable or you're going to be invisible.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. You're going to have to find ways to stand out. You're going to have to innovate, brothers and sisters. I don't say stop advertising, but in some respects, stop advertising and start innovating.
Yeah.
That is hugely important. That's a big, I think, idea that you're communicating effectively to us. And I think another one that I've sort of mastered in my own little micro way, and that is, don't find customers for your products, find products for your customers. It's two different
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah.
Who are your customers and what do they want, right? And create the products that they want,
Yeah.
right? And so instead of spending um, an inordinate amount of time looking for customers for your products, figure out what products your customers want. All of that is part of the whole branding mindset. And
Yeah.
once you find the product, once you get the idea, how do you package it? How do you brand it? How do you connect it to your own personal brand? It's a lot to it. It takes expertise, and it takes experience, and it takes wisdom, all of which you have, Delano. What just very quickly, because we're somewhat out of time, how can people get in touch with you, or do you have a course? Do you teach? Do you have products that that you are putting on in the marketplace?
Yeah.
How do they?
Yeah, so there's a number of ways and things that they can do. Right now, we're focused on helping people understand the difference between branding and graphic designs, because everybody believes that is, a logo is branding, but it's actually not. There's a lot more to go into it, the psychology of why your brand has to look the way it does. So there's a lot to go in. So we're doing actually now, and we've been doing a branding 101 course, which people can actually sign up for.
Is it an
And
online course? Online?
yeah, yeah,
On
it's an online course. It's an online course, and there's a component. There's a live component to it. So yeah, there's an online course, but the first part of it is kind of like an introduction, and so that's live. I do that live. So there's a specific time, and so they can actually sign up. I can put it up on the screen, and they can actually sign up by actually texting to a specific number.
it's fee based, Delano? Fee
Yeah, it's
based?
fee-based. Yeah. So it gets you. So the branding 101 gets you to our tri-brand package, but everyone doesn't have three brands and can take, the opportunity of tri-branding, the power of doing that. So branding 101 is probably where most people need to start. And that's just an hour class that you actually come in. I look at what you're doing, and I tell you and give you the best class practices and how to actually exploit some of the things that's happening right now. For example, in times of upheaval and market crashes, most Fortune 1000 companies cut budgets in the creative department. So they don't advertise and brand
Right.
as much. So there becomes voids, in pockets of voids, where that space and recognition is actually open for you, but you need to be creative in how you present that, not just by using advertising dollars, but also using creative content on social media. So there's different things that I show you of what you can do right now to get seen and get heard, and more importantly, create a brand awareness that you exist and you're here to stay. So they can actually do that by texting to this number. That's actually up on the screen. I'll just show it. So they can text 833, text branding to 833-977-2167. And they'll go through the branding 101 class. And those who are ready and have those three brands, or if you have two brands, which is you have a product and you have a company that you're pushing, or you have your personality brand, you're a speaker, you're an artist, the product is you, what you do. And then you have other products like a seed, like an album, or you have a course, right? That's a secondary brand. So you have your product brand and you have your personality brand. If you have those two brands, then you could be eligible for the tribe branding. So we're just going to show you how to leverage those things and get maximum exposure, which is needed in this time, but with minimum the cost to do it. So this branding 101 helps us to take a look at what you're doing and to be able to determine whether or not the tribe branding is good for you or not. But at any point, you're going to walk away with some best in-class practices and some tips and tricks on what you could do now with your content and your advertising through finding your brand voice.
if anybody, so this is how they text. Can they get a special Fraser net discount?
Yeah, so the 1 hour class is $49. It's just $49. And yeah, so what we would do is this class is $49. I just want to be clear. This branding 101 class is $49. The tribe branding starts at $1,500. It depends on where you are, but we determine that in the branding 101. So the branding 101 is $49. And since you twist my arm, we could do a 30% discount on the $49. I mean, it's pigeon peas, right? So you should be able to do that. We'll do, I'm sorry, not on the $49, on the $1,500 and above.
Right.
Okay?
30% discount.
30% discount on the
Right.
on the tribe branding when you get to that level. So we'll do that 30%.
That is generous. That really, really is generous.
Yeah.
Brother Bedford, any questions? Do you have any questions?
And no, George, I think Delano's done an excellent job. He covered the gamut. We did have a few questions, but however, I think the last two questions that Delano answered, I think he pretty much answered a few of the questions. When I look at people asking about starting their corporate brand and what can they do with their personal brand getting started, I think those last two questions, Delano answered. So I guess he was reading everyone's mind because he answered those questions in the last two.
Great.
Well, he has that. Now you'll meet Delano at the Power Networking Conference. He is co-hosting it with me, and he will be holding a class on branding and doing a Power Talk, which is our version of a TED Talk, at the Power Networking Conference, October the 14th through the 17th. So we have come to that 2-minute commercial on the Power Networking Conference for those of you that want to take advantage, having shared this podcast at this moment in time. We have a special offer for 5 people only. It's a deep, deep discount. It's a conference that you want to be at. It's Forbes magazine named it as one of the top 5 conferences in America, not to be missed. You want to be there. It's got some incredible teachers, trainers, lecturers, speakers, workshop presenters. One of them, another one of them will be on our Thursday call, Delano McNeil. Awesome, brother. Delano will join us on Thursday. We'll be more about that in our social media promotion. So the Power Networking Conference, Forbes named it one of the top 5 conferences in America not to be missed. All right. So an adult registration for the conference is $1,500. If you met one person that could help change the trajectory of your life, would that be worth $1,500? Yes, it would. You're going to meet more than one person that will help you change the trajectory of your business, your life, but in a whole variety of ways that are so important to us, especially since the world is going to change in our face sooner rather than later. So an adult registration is $1,500. Student registration, we encourage you to bring a young person that they can sit at the feet of masters like Delano. And that's $800 for a student registration. You put those two together, that's $2,300. We reduce that by $1,900. You get it for $399. $399 for Power Pack days. Now, you can only get this one way, through me. You have to email me at gfraser@frasernet.com. That's gfraser, Fraser, @frasernet.com. Put in the subject line, I'm in, and then in the body of the email, your full name and your cell number. Your full name and your cell number. I will personally call you, and we will handle it over the phone. Okay? So it's limited to the first 5 people. All emails are time-stamped, so I know who was first, second, third, fourth, fifth. So that is our show tonight. I don't know if you have any closing thoughts, Delano or Brother Bedford. There's just something you want to close it out with, and then we will. I will give you my closing thought for tonight as well.
No, Joy, this has been rich. I don't really have any closing thoughts. I think you've just delivered the thought that the types of individuals, the caliber of individuals that we have at the Power Networking Conference, and then just on these Zoom calls. One of the things that did happen in the comment section, we have people from everywhere. I mean, all across the country, everybody saying, hey, they're congratulating you about being inducted into the Minority Business Hall of Fame. People from Canada, South Africa. So we're just thrilled that we're able to deliver this quality and caliber of knowledge, experience, and expertise to our people who need it coming up out of this pandemic. So that's all I would like to say, is just to continue to come, continue to share, continue to absorb what it is that we're sharing with you, and you'll be fine.
That's good. Thank you. You get the final thought for tonight.
Okay.
Delano A. Johnson.
Well, I would like to just say that more than just hope, I think what you have inside of you is exactly what's needed. And the rest of us are just waiting to see what you deliver to the world.
Yeah.
And your brand, your identity is important. It's the fact that you've been here. And so don't let fear, don't let anxiety stop you from thinking. You have some really good stuff and how to organize your ideas. And so I'm just praying that today is the day that you make that bold step and you go out and create your brand.
Amen. My final words to you tonight are related tangentially to branding. And I just want to say this with sincerity, real sincerity, that building your own house, brothers and sisters, is much more effective than trying to get someone to treat you better in their house.
Mm.
Build your own house.
Yeah.
Be the king of that house or the queen. Love you. We'll see you on Thursday, 7 o'clock with Delatoro McNeil. Thank you, Delano. Thank you, Brother Bill.
Thanks for having me. Thanks
Thank
for having me.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Take care, everyone.